So, but now, list is dynamic. It can grow, it can shrink. Now, how do we add to this list? So, assuming I want to add more elements to the list, what do I do? I can say persons dot append. I use append method. Now append what? Let us append Ugu. So if I press enter now Ugu has been appended to the last element of the list. So it will be at the end. So if I print the list again, you see that Ugu has been added to the list. So that is how to add element to the list. Now, in your exercise, when we go for break now, we are going to do exercise 2.12, 2.13, 2.14, and then 2.15. So in these exercises, you are going to use methods like insert method, remove method, and pop method to grow and shrink a list. I think it will be more of engaging when we do these things by ourselves, and you'll be able to note what your findings, so that when we come back, we can now brainstorm and see our mistakes and our strength and our weaknesses. The next thing we can do is emptying a list. As being, you may decide to empty a list based on what you want to do. So, for instance, I say persons. I use a clear method dot clear. Once I press enter, then the list is gone. If I want to print again, if I want to print the list again, print persons, okay, and enter. You see, it's now an empty list. I told you in the beginning that an empty list is a list that is a square bracket that is empty. That is an empty list. Okay, so that is an empty list. The last thing we shall do now, before we enter into the next big topic, is checking a specific object in a list. Yesterday we saw it almost when we did when we used in operator. So if I want to create, let me populate a list again before we continue. Let us say we have a list. I'm using Control Alternate P to toggle my previous commands. Control P. So let us reduce this to maybe to 4. So I have a list of 3 persons. If I want to check if John is in the list, what do? I say if persons, then remember our colon, then do what? Let us say print present. Now, when you use if command on the shell, you have to press enter twice to complete. Press enter once, press twice to complete it when you are using a if statement in shell. So you can see John is in the persons list. So once you press it, it will say yes, present, that it is there. So far we can say okay to list and enter tuple. So tuple is the next big data structure in Python. Okay, tuple can be seen as okay, first of all, let us define what is a tuple. Like a list anyway, a tuple is also an ordered sequence of items, period. Ordered, just like a list, is also ordered, which means it's indexed from 0 to 1, 2 to the end. But in tuple, the elements are immutable, means you cannot change the elements of a tuple. It's like a constant in ordinary language, other languages. So how do I create a tuple? We use round brackets to create a tuple. So if I say persons equals to, I put my round bracket instead of square bracket. I can now put John. Let us have up to 3 for now. So I have 3 persons in this tuple. One is John, one is Mary, and the last one is Paul. So if I press enter, we have gotten a tuple. So if I say persons, you see, persons is not, this is a tuple because it's, how do we know? It's almost like a list, but the only difference, how do you know? You know from the brackets. Round brackets encloses a tuple. All right, that's how to know. Then the next thing we shall do, how do we create, assuming the element of a tuple is just one person? Let us create a tuple called person. Person equal John. When the element of a tuple is just one person, you must put comma after that element. When the item in a tuple is just one item, you must put comma. Otherwise, it will be seen as a string and not a tuple. Remember, we have something called string object. If I press enter now, okay, this is now a tuple. Okay, how do we check? If I use a type command, type, to tell us, to show us the type of object that the person belongs. If I press enter now, you see that it belongs to a class of tuple. So this object, tuple object person, belong to the, as I told you before, everything in Python is an object that belongs to a particular class. As we move along, subsequently in the course of our workshops, time will come when we do basically OOP. Now, but if I say person, look up, equals to 10 minutes more, equals to John without comma. All right. If I now type of person, type person, the class is a string. So note this, just note it. Anytime we use a couple as one element, you must put comma after it. That is for that. The next thing we shall be looking at is adding elements to a couple. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible because tuple can. Is it possible? Let us check. If I say person, we shall be using these persons here now, no more person. Let us use this tuple here. Because this tuple here is persons. So if I say persons, person dot append. I want to append something. Maybe I want to add to it. Let us add Smith. Let us see what will happen now. If I press enter, it will flag error. Why? Tuples are static. They are mutable. They are what we call immutable. Okay, it's impossible to increase tuple. That's what the point I want to make. So I want you to look at exercise 2.1 again. You type the command that you see there in the exercise, write what you observe, and briefly explain what happened. Okay, then that's what we shall do when we go for break. Next thing we shall look at now is how to change items in a tuple. Very important. There may be times you need to change items in a tuple. All you need to do is to convert the tuple to a list, make the change, then convert it back from the list to back to what? Tuple. So let us look at what is in our tuple. So far, we have John, Mary, and Paul in the tuple. So if I want to change John to Hector, what do I do? First of all, I will convert the tuple persons to a list using the list constructor. I put persons there. Built-in function, BIF. So I can use this built-in function list to convert this tuple to list and assign it back to persons. So this persons now will no more be tuple, is now list. So if I press enter now, it is no more a tuple, it is now a list. How do we know? If I type of persons, it is now a list. Now I can make my change. I will say persons. The first element, I want to change it to what? Hector. If I change it now, it has changed. So if I want to see the persons, you see, Hector has changed. Remember, 1 means this is 0, this is 1, index 1, this is index 2. The next thing I will do is to convert it back to tuple. I will now say persons equals to tuple, persons tuple, convert it persons. Okay. Now I'm using the tuple constructor to convert the persons, which is a list, back to tuple. It's now a tuple. So how do I know? If I type persons, you see it's now in square bracket, it is now in round bracket back. Again, if I use my type command to bring it up, it's now a tuple, no more a list. So once in a while, you can see things like this. The next thing we are going to look at is accessing, I want to access Hector. The same way we access a list is the same way we access tuple, because they're almost the same thing, except that list is changeable, tuple is unchangeable. So for me to access maybe Hector, I will use the index number 1. I can say print persons, then put your square bracket, item 1. If I press enter now, that is, I'm accessing only item 1, which is Hector. So it's now giving us back the Hector. So the next one again, we can access with negative indexing. Remember what we said initially, negative indexing means accessing the last element of the list using -1. So I can say print persons, then -1, press enter. 4 is now accessed. So what I want you to do when you get when we take a short break now is to do exercise 2.25, 2.26, and 2.27.